Hey everyone, welcome to The High Ground. I'm James Razili. I'm here to talk to you about this movie called Solo, a Star Wars story. It started production a year ago this month, and then 5 months later, as we all know, the co-directors of that film were let go over what turned out to be creative differences between them, to say the least, I suppose, between them and Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm as a whole. And so a few weeks later, it was announced that Ron Howard, Uncle Ron, would take over for the Solo picture, and it was supposed to just be pickups and finishing off, because they were 5 months into shooting, and apparently they were very, very close to finishing this film. And then Ron Howard came in and it basically reshot the entire thing, though you're hearing conflicting reports. I believe Thandie Newton said that she didn't do too much with Ron Howard. Donald Glover said that he did some stuff. So it's conflicting right now, so we don't really know where we are. But a few weeks ago on the Rebel Scum podcast, I said that the Solo, a Star Wars story film, was going to be the third best Star Wars film to date. And I'm going to stand by those comments. But High Ground is obviously our review show, and I'm not really reviewing anything other than my own comments that I said, because I know a lot of people, I said we're going to lose subscribers, and I think some of you unsubscribed. So you're probably not watching this, but thank you. But really, I just want to say I will stand by that, but if you feel the opposite way, I understand what you're saying. But I'm just going to I want to present facts about why I think the Han Solo movie is going to be a good Star Wars film. I said this on the podcast. I don't think it's going to be a deep Star Wars film. It's not going to have the emotion. It won't be Empire Strikes Back. It doesn't need to be Empire Strikes Back. Han Solo is in Empire Strikes Back. This needs to be something else. And the reshoots are happening in a few weeks with Uncle Ron, and so there's talk, will it be delayed, will it be pushed back? And it could be that nothing is. They've kind of told us that it's coming out in May. There's that May 25th release date, but I believe on the teaser posters that people are seeing in theaters, I have not seen one yet here in the Great White North. It is pretty white right now. I haven't seen a teaser poster for it, but what I've seen people post, it doesn't seem like there's a date on that whatsoever. So, I mean, if the trailer drops after I say this, I will cut this out, obviously. So, but the trailer hasn't come out yet as of this recording, so I don't know. But right now we're going to go with May, and I think it's going to be May because, like The Last Jedi, and I think this is all part of the plan. I think this is Lucasfilm's brilliant plan, and I think this is showing that they hired Lord and Miller on to do Solo, a Star Wars story, because they wanted a fun romp adventure. This is what they wanted after a movie like The Last Jedi. Because when all of this was starting, we were like, okay, the saga films will all be like, okay, it's very predictable, it's Star Wars, blah, blah, blah. Force Awakens kind of proved that. Force Awakens was, one of the what people say about it is that it's too much like A New Hope, and whether you disagree or not, that's not the point. It's just, it was familiar. It was very familiar. Everything about it was familiar. It brought you back to Star Wars, and then they're like, Rogue One's going to be a war movie, and you kind of feel somewhere along the way they pulled the reins on that a little bit and made it more familiar. And then Last Jedi comes out and divides fans. And it's still familiar. I would say it's still very, 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 very familiar. But a lot of people are like, no, this is not my Star Wars. # not my Luke Skywalker, all of that stuff. People are very, very divided and very passionate about this movie and about the franchise as a whole. So now 5 months later, you have Solo, this Han Solo movie coming out, and what can that really be? It's just a fun adventure with this character Han Solo, and it makes complete sense that this is going to come 5 months after you just divided the fans, after you just turned everything on the head. You had twists and turns, and when you watch that movie, I don't care who you are. I do care who you are, but when we asked for reactions, we got reactions back, and everybody they were drained. Like, people were drained. They watched it for, if you watched it more than once, you feel differently after. But the first time, people came out like, oh boy, you were exhausted, like something just happened in your life and you weren't quite sure what it was. But I want to get into Han Solo, the Solo, a Star Wars story, I should say, a little bit. I want to take you all the way back to 2012. I'm going to reference this book right here. It's The Last Jedi. I don't really know who publishes this. It's Condé Nast. I don't know what that is. This is from editors of Vanity Fair, GQ, The New Yorker, and Wired. If you check the back, that tells you everything I just said. But there's an interview in here And this is nothing new, but I just want to go into why I'm going to stand by my comments on this being the third best Star Wars film to date. So Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote Empire Strikes Back, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Return of the Jedi, refused to come back for the prequels. He said, George, this is your story. You're going to do whatever you want. And so he did not do the prequels. But in 2012, Kasdan was called back by George Lucas, and Kathleen Kennedy was there. This is before the Disney purchase. And they told him that they wanted him to write another Star Wars film. So right here it says, it turns out Lucas had been sitting on a whole crop of ideas. Pick, they tell him. Kasdan chooses something about Han Solo when he was a kid. The reason, Kasdan said, is because Han is my favorite character. They cut the deal, but ask Kasdan for a little more. And then they go into Force Awakens and whatnot. So I want to take that. Han Solo is Kasdan's favorite character. And then when you watch Empire Strikes Back, look, I love Han Solo. Han Solo is probably also my favorite character. I know, we're doing this top 5 Road to 100, these top 25 favorite characters. And Han has not been appearing on a lot of people's lists. And things have changed over the 40 years Star Wars has come out. We've gotten, as opposed to having 3 movies, there are now 9 films, plus the Clone Wars film, plus the Clone Wars show, plus Rebels, plus all the EU characters and whatnot. So there is a lot, but Han Solo is still very, very high and near and dear in my heart. I love Han Solo. He's fantastic. He's this witty, he's a smuggler, a scoundrel. And when you look at what Kasdan says about how he's his favorite character, you think, okay, Kasdan's a very skillful writer. When you watch The Force Awakens, and after The Force Awakens came out, Kasdan said that him and J.J. Abrams would argue over the script, as writers would. But he said, no, Han Solo would not say that. And it always intrigued me that Kasdan would point that out, that he would point out the Han Solo moments. He understands this character. Who better to write a film about this character? If Kasdan picks, I don't even know what the other options were on the table, but let's say it's Jabba the Hutt. Kasdan picks a Jabba the Hutt film, we may not even be getting a Han Solo film. Okay? It is what Kasdan believed in the character and the property is the reason why we're getting a Han Solo film. And so that is why I believe that there was something there in that moment that Kasdan said, who said no to the prequels. It's not like he was just like, I will do anything you ask. He said no already, and he came back and he said, this is something that intrigues me. I will write this. There's something to Han Solo that he wants to be said. He has the voice of Han Solo. Now, that brings up the other point, the voice of Han Solo. Does Alden Ehrenreich have the voice of Han Solo? This is a huge X factor, and this is something, when I say it's going to be the third best Star Wars film, you can be like, yeah, but it's not Harrison Ford, and that is the most valid point, and it's almost a deal breaker on every level, because, when that first, the release of the product image came up, which we're using as a thumbnail here, which I think is fantastic, some people were like, that's not Han Solo. He does not look like Han Solo. Is that going to be a problem? I don't know. Does Ewan McGregor look like Alec Guinness? Kind of. And this is also very different from Alec Guinness as well, because Alec Guinness, as Obi-Wan Kenobi, you don't really get him doing much. He has a little lightsaber fight, and he walks around and he talks mystically to Luke Skywalker, and then we go back and we're like, oh, he's very sarcastic. He can jump around. He's proficient with a blade. This is fantastic. So I don't even know if that's a fair comparison, because we've kind of seen Han Solo. Well, we've seen Han Solo in his prime. Harrison Ford is Han Solo in his prime. So now Han Solo, this movie has to take place at least 10, 15 years before A New Hope, is what I have to say. It has to be 10, 15 years before A New Hope. I mean, I don't think we're going to get that in this, but Kasdan believes in this. They've hired this actor to play Han Solo. We don't know what happened. We've heard that there are reports that he was very Ace Ventura-like in his performance, and does that worry me? No. And I'm gonna be honest about this, and that's because you had Lord and Miller come in there to direct, and from what we heard, they were directing their movie, not Kasdan's movie, which is maybe the first mistake they made. Was maybe Kasdan didn't want to direct this. I don't really know what happened, but maybe he should have been the one to be like, this, I need to do this. But anyway, besides the point. So they were directing their own movie, not this script, which we've heard has been the best Star Wars script today. We'll get back into that in a little bit. But so if you've seen the Jump Street movies, they've taken, a drama show from a long time ago, and they made it a comedy. And so maybe that was their mentality in this. It's like, let's bring what worked before into this. Ehrenreich, we need you to up it up a little bit, ham it up a bit. And Ehrenreich, maybe there are rumors that he called and he said, look, this isn't Han Solo. They don't want me to be Han Solo. They want me to be something else. And that was a red flag. And red flags were all over this. And so they got rid of them. They brought in Ron Howard, who I think will respect the material. And I'm not even saying that Lord and Miller did not respect the material. I just think that they wanted to bring their own style, which for this property is probably the biggest mistake they could have made, because this is Kennedy, Kasdan, Lucas. This is their baby right now. This is Han Solo. You don't mess with Han Solo. They're already in trouble. They're in deep right now doing Han Solo. Like the backlash from people, we don't need a Han Solo film, which I was kind of on that initially, and then I realized I own the Adventures of Han Solo books. Like, I'm a huge Han Solo fan. I love it. And one of my favorite movies is Indiana Jones. Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite. And then, I love them all, but and what better to have than Indiana Jones in space? Paul Bettany has now come out and said that this is a gangster film. Okay, sure, but if Jabba the Hutt takes place, that's fine. Is he going to have his Imperial background? I don't know. Because look, we can look at the EU for Han Solo, and we can look at what we know and love about him from the Aftermath and all this other stuff. But Kasdan didn't have Aftermath when he wrote this, and who even knows if he read anything in the EU when he wrote this? He had his Han Solo from Empire Strikes Back in his mind. He wanted to flesh out. He's like, how did we get from here to Carbonite? And that is really what this story is kind of going to be, I think. And we're going to find out how he obviously gets the Falcon and how he befriends Chewie and the Life Debt. I think that's all going to play in Lando. And there's so much fun to be had in the Han Solo film that it is arguably impossible to make a straight up bad, I shouldn't say bad, straight up unentertaining film. This is going to be highly entertaining. I can't see it going any other way. Like I said, on May 25th, if I turn out to be wrong, I will eat my words. I will play this back. I will play my prediction on the podcast back, and I will say, look, guys, wow, they took me for a ride. And look, obviously I love Star Wars. I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt. I do a Star Wars, I have a Star Wars channel on YouTube, a podcast, all that stuff. But I like The Last Jedi. I didn't love The Last Jedi. I liked The Last Jedi. I thought it was good. And I can see the problems that people have, and I understand that. And so I'm not just saying this is going to be a great movie because I think it's going to be a great movie. I'm saying I think it's going to be a great movie because I think everything is stacked up against it from the media standpoint. You read the news, the firing, the reshoots, the nobody wants Han Solo, the everyone hates Last Jedi, Star Wars is dead, this and that. But then you look at Lucas, Kasdan, Kennedy, fun adventure, the cast, save for Ehrenreich because we don't know, but Woody Harrelson playing his mentor, Donald Glover as Lando is fantastic. Chewie's back. Who knows what else is in this world? And maybe there's Vader in this. We heard reports of Vader like a year ago, and if he starts off as an Imperial, why wouldn't Vader be there? It makes sense, and there's no point in any of it when I don't think when I watch Star Wars, I'm not like Han Solo doesn't know who Vader is. C3 and R2D2, love to see them in there. Don't know if it'll happen. But, not to go on for too long, but look, there's a lot of people out there who think that there are two good Star Wars films, A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Is it that hard for this to be the third best Star Wars film if you look at it in that perspective? Absolutely not. The one key ingredient to both of those is Han Solo. Han Solo is very charming in both of those films. He is beyond it. He excels in Empire Strikes Back, and there's no way you can't love Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back. It's just impossible. I have multiple. When I was a kid, I had multiple action figures of Han Solo from Empire Strikes Back. So for me, Solo, a Star Wars story, I believe in it full-heartedly because of the screenplay. It is easy to screw up a screenplay. It's been done multiple times, but it's also possible to make a terrible screenplay. I'm great. I just think what Kasdan has, and look, Ron Howard maybe not directed the best movie in a few years, but he's directed some really good movies, and I think he's capable of taking page to picture in a way that is satisfying. And if this script is as good as everyone said that it is, everything is there. There's nothing for this to not play a part. I mean, look at John Williams. John Williams is coming back to do the theme for this. The theme. I don't know how this played out, but a part of me thinks maybe he was like, oh, well, I love Han Solo. He's the only character I don't have a theme for. I got to give him a theme. And then there's an excitement here that is for some reason not being felt by the fan community that I think was initially on some level felt by Lucasfilm. And I think maybe they were a little bit disappointed that we're not feeling it. And I think maybe it is time for us to feel this excitement. And maybe we should be ready for this Solo film. And maybe May 25th can't get here soon enough. That's what I'm saying. I think we're going to get this film and we're going to say, hey, you know what? Star Wars doesn't have to be all dark side, light side. Sometimes it just has to be a Millennium Falcon with some blue paint on it, flying around the galaxy, smuggling some spices for Jabba the Hutt and whatnot. And I think just that is what is so appealing to me about this Solo film. It doesn't need to connect to anything. Rogue One I love Rogue One, but it had to connect to A New Hope and it had to connect to this and that. Han Solo, it's not tied down by anything at all. It's like, I hate to compare it to this, but when you watch Guardians of the Galaxy and the MCU, you're like, this movie is fantastic, and it doesn't feel like anything is holding it back. Yeah, you get Thanos once in a while, Thanos once in a while, but it doesn't really matter because he fits into what they're doing and he doesn't take away, like, and some of them you're like, oh god, they had to throw that in. So Han Solo has this opportunity to be its own thing. It doesn't need to be a trilogy, just one fun film. Like I said, I don't expect anything deep. There's no Yoda. We're not going to get some big thing about that. We might have Han, there will be a teachable moment in this, obviously, and Han might learn something that will play a factor later on, and maybe we find out, maybe because of something that happens in this, we understand more why he decides to come back in A New Hope. Something like that might tie in. Look, the possibilities are very endless for me. I am so super excited. I want to see how he changes the Falcon to fit him because, Lando's like, what did you do to my ship? Just everything about this screams, this is why we love Star Wars. And I think it's important, especially right now in the fandom, with all the hate and the love. It's split. Maybe the hate's louder. I don't know. But I think we need to remember why we love Star Wars. Escapism, sci-fi fantasy, having fun, space battles. We don't question why there's sound in space. We don't question why there's smoke in space. We don't question anything. You just do it, and you have fun. And Han Solo is going to ask no questions. It's just going to have a great time. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I've taken enough of your night. Have a good weekend, and may the force of others be with you.
Hey, scumbags. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.